Hi and welcome back. So how was your weekend? What did you do? I and my wife, we went to a place called Della Adventures. It's an amusement park which is around 70 odd kilometers from where I stay. And we had a ball of a time. I did have a lot of fun and I did so many activities. So how did your weekend go? Do mention it in comments. I would love to read what you did in the last weekend. Anyways, coming back to Visual Basic Programming. I answer a lot of questions in different forums like VB Forum, Stack Overflow, MrExcel.com, etc. etc. And one of the common questions that I have faced is what is the difference between dim and set? I mean, when to use what? So in this video, what I will do is I will explain what is the difference between these two. It is very important, and especially if you're learning from scratch, it is very important to know why to use them and why to use set. Also when to use them. So let's start off with dim statement. We will now launch the Visual Basic Editor. If you're not sure what Visual Basic Editor is, then I recommend watching the video Visual Basic Editor and Introduction. We will press the shortcut key Alt F11 to launch the Visual Basic Editor. Once the Visual Basic Editor is launched, right-click on the VBA project and under Insert, click on Module to insert a module. I'm going to declare a procedure called subdim_example. If you remember in my video, VBA, variables, data types and constants, I mentioned how and why to declare a variable. In that video, we saw the syntax to declare a variable is dim, variable name as data type. Now, declaring a variable is absolutely optional, but in that video, I showed it to you that it's the right thing to do. And I also showed it to you why it is important to declare a variable. If you have not seen that video, I highly recommend that you watch that video first. Let's declare a variable called sheet name as string. This variable will hold a value which I will later use to rename a worksheet. Now let's assign a value to it. You can either use sheet name is equal to database, or you can also say let sheet name is equal to database. The let statement assigns the value of an expression to a variable or property. The syntax of let is let val name is equal to expression. The first part is let. In one of my earlier videos, I had mentioned that in an Excel formula or function, if you see anything enclosed in square brackets, then that argument or keyword is optional. So here, let is optional. And this is the reason why the majority of the programmers, including me, do not use this statement to assign the value of an expression to a variable. The val name is the name of the variable or property, which follows standard variable naming conventions as mentioned in my video, VBA variable data types and constants. And expression is the value assigned to the variable or property. So we can delete the let and keep this as sheet name is equal to database and it will work. Once we have set the value, we will now use the message box function to check and display what the variable holds. So I will type MSG box sheet name. Let's run this. Click on the Run Sub User Form button or simply press the shortcut key F5. When I run this, I get the name of the worksheet which is stored in a variable sheet name. Similarly, you can store, say, a date in a date variable. For example, dim invoice date as date, and invoice date is equal to hash 1/1/2022 hash. So dim keyword is to declare a variable and assign memory to it. And let, which is optional, is used to assign the value of an expression to a variable or property. Now let's understand what is set. Let's quickly insert a module. Like the let statement assigns the value of an expression to a variable or property, Similarly, we have set statement which assigns the value of an expression to an object variable or property. The syntax of set statement is set object var is equal to new object expression nothing. The set statement syntax has these parts. The object var is the name of the object variable or property. This also follows the standard variable naming convention as mentioned in my video VBA variable data types and constants. The new is optional and is usually used during declaration to enable implicit object creation. When new is used with set, it creates a new instance of the class. We will not get too much into new at the moment. We will go through it when we use set to create new objects. For example, when we say are interacting with MS Word application object. The object expression is the expression consisting of the name of an object, another declared variable of the same object type, or a function or method that returns an object of the same object type. Nothing, which is optional, simply discontinues association of object var with any specific object. Assigning nothing to object var releases all the system and memory resources associated with the previously referenced object when no other variable refers to it. Now you may have a question. What is a variable and what is an object variable? What's the difference between them? Now in a computer, the data is stored in the computer's memory. To access this data, you have to specify a name associated with that value. And depending upon the type of data that you are storing, it can either be a variable or an object variable. A variable can hold only one piece of information, one data in that. It can be your name, my name, today's date, yesterday's date, name of the worksheet, etc. etc. An object variable are instances of user-defined types such as classes and structures. I will not get too much into classes and structures in this video. We will cover that in detail in one of the future videos. Simply put, object variable allows you to store references to an object in memory. An object has variety of properties and methods that can be programmed to control the behavior of that object. So let's understand this using an example. I'm going to declare a procedure called sub set underscore example. And I will declare a worksheet object using dim ws as worksheet. Once we have declared the object, we will use the set statement to assign a value to the object. The set statement can only be used within a procedure. So let's set our worksheet object. Set ws is equal to this workbook dot sheets sheet 1. As you can see in the project explorer, that's our sheet 1. Usually when you use set to assign an object reference to a variable, no copy of that object is created for that variable. Only a reference to the relevant object is created. Once the variable is assigned, you can then work with the object by typing the period, and VBA will expose the object's properties, methods, and events associated with the object. For example, if I want to check and display the name of the worksheet object, then I will do it this way: msgbox ws.name. Let's run this, and I get sheet 1. If I do not use set and I directly try to assign an object reference to a variable without using the set command, then I will get the runtime error 91, which is object variable or with block variable not set. So I'm going to delete this, and now let's try and run it. See, and when I click on debug, it highlights this line. So I'll press Ctrl Z to get my set back. Once the object's properties, methods, and events associated with the objects are exposed, I can then seamlessly work with them. Just like we used .name to check and display the name of the worksheet object, I can also rename the worksheet object. This is how I would do it. Let me copy the sheet name variable and the value that we assigned to it from module 1. Copying these two lines, module 2, and I paste it here. So this will give me sheet 1. Okay. Now I will say ws.name is equal to sheet name. And then I will copy this again and let's see if the name was changed. Let's run this. So I get sheet 1, which is the name of the worksheet. I'll click on OK. And now the worksheet is renamed and I get database. So if you look at the bottom left corner, you'll see the name of the worksheet has changed. So we saw what is the difference between the dim statement and the set statement. Time for a quick recap. A dim statement is used to declare a variable, which can be a simple variable which holds basic data types like long, integer, string, etc. Or an object variable which holds a reference to an object in memory. And once that is done, then you can use the set statement to assign a value to that object variable. Now, declaring a variable is optional, but it is a very good habit as I explained earlier. So I hope the difference between the dim statement and set statement is clear. But if you still have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Or you can also email me on support@damexcel.com and I will get back to you within 48 hours. Just a quick reminder, I will be posting 2 videos every week, one on Monday and the other on Thursday. If you like the way I explain things and if you think I can assist you in your quest to learn Visual Basic Programming from scratch, then go ahead and watch a couple of videos, drop few likes. And if you still have not subscribed to this channel, then go ahead and subscribe to this channel by clicking on the bell icon. And I will see you on Thursday when I talk about user-defined types.